Have you ever been in a moment where you gave everything your time, your heart, your full attention? Instead of drawing her closer, it felt like she was slipping away. You planned thoughtful gestures, showed up when she needed, listened closely, and tried to be everything she said she wanted. But strangely, the more you tried, the colder she became. It's a deeply frustrating experience, one that makes you look inward and ask, what am I doing wrong? But here's the truth that most men never hear. It's not about doing more. It's about being more. It's not more pleasing, not more available, but more grounded, more still, more centered in your own presence. You see, there's a certain kind of man, a rare kind, whose strength isn't loud. He doesn't try to prove himself. He doesn't chase. He doesn't perform. He simply exists in such a rooted, unshakable way that women feel something they don't often feel in this world. Safe. Not safe because he gives her what she wants, but safe because he stands strong in who he is. This kind of presence doesn't push or pull. It invites. And that invitation is powerful. Women don't lean into force. They lean into steadiness. They soften not under pressure, but under the feeling of security. That's why effort alone doesn't work. It's not your actions that are failing. It's the energy behind them. If you're acting from anxiety, from a place of hoping to be enough, she'll feel that, and she'll pull away. But when your actions come from wholeness, from a quiet belief that you are already enough, the dynamic shifts. She starts leaning in, not because you've earned it, but because your stillness gives her space to come closer. That's the beginning of true masculine presence. There's a subtle power in silence that most men overlook. Not the kind of silence that avoids, hides, or retreats, but the kind that stands still with purpose. When you find yourself constantly explaining your thoughts, defending your decisions, or over-talking to be understood, what you're really doing is leaking your power. It may seem like you're being transparent or kind, but to her, it signals insecurity. A man who's confident doesn't need to be constantly validated. He trusts his choices, speaks clearly, and then allows space for his presence to do the rest. That stillness creates an invisible weight that a woman feels in her body. She doesn't hear it, she senses it. And what she senses, she trusts. The more you talk to prove your worth, the more she questions it. The more you try to win her over with words, the more she retreats. But when you allow your calm to speak louder than your voice, something changes. She starts wondering what you're thinking. She begins to feel curious about you again. That's the shift in energy when she begins to lean in, not because of what you're saying, but because of how you're being. You're no longer performing. For approval, you're embodying truth. And from that place, she can finally relax. Women are sensitive to energy. They feel your neediness, even if your words are perfect. They sense your certainty, even if you say little. The goal isn't to be silent to manipulate. It's to be silent because you no longer need to explain. You already know where you stand. Next time you feel the urge to prove yourself, pause, breathe, say what needs to be said, then stop.
Oh.
Let her feel your stillness. That's when her trust begins to deepen without you having to force anything. Leadership begins with presence, and presence begins with clarity. So many men give away their strength without realizing it, not by being unkind or passive, but by constantly seeking her permission to lead. Every time you ask, is this okay? Or what do you want to do? You're unknowingly placing the burden of direction on her. While that may seem considerate, it often creates more pressure than comfort. A woman doesn't want to feel like she has to make all the decisions. She wants to feel like she can relax into your leadership. That doesn't mean controlling her hit. It means offering direction with confidence and allowing room for flexibility. It's not about being rigid. It's about being clear. When you say, let's go here, or I've made us a plan, you create a container for her to soften into. That kind of confidence is magnetic. It tells her you're capable of holding space, not just for yourself, but for her emotions, her energy, and her experience. Even if she changes the plan, the fact that you took initiative shifts the dynamic. She begins to trust that you know how to move forward without needing her to guide you. That's when her guard drops. That's when her feminine energy feels safe enough to flow, because she knows she's not walking alone. She doesn't want indecision. She wants to feel your direction, not just in words, but in your energy. Speak with intention. Move with purpose. Even small decisions can carry big impact when they're made from a grounded place. When you lead not with force, but with steady conviction, it gives her something to follow, not out of submission, but out of trust. That trust is what opens the door to deeper connection, deeper attraction, and a dynamic that feels effortless. When emotions rise, when tension brews, when she becomes overwhelmed or upset, your reaction in those moments defines the space between you. Most men either try to fix the problem instantly or shut down altogether, but neither of those responses creates trust. What a woman is looking for in those stormy moments isn't a solution, it's stability. She wants to know that no matter how intense her emotions get, you won't be swept away. Not cold, not distant, just solid. Grounded man becomes the calm in her chaos. He doesn't flinch when the energy gets heavy. He doesn't react defensively or take her words as personal attacks. He listens, he breathes, he holds steady. That calmness communicates something deeper than words ever could. Tells her that you can handle her, control her, not silence her, but hold space for her. That kind of emotional presence is rare, it's powerful. It makes her feel safe in ways she can't even explain. She starts to see you not just as a man, but as a foundation. Someone who doesn't rise and fall with every wave she throws, but someone who remains rooted regardless. That's when she stops testing you. It's when she stops pushing boundaries, because she realizes you're not moved by her storms, you're steady through them. Your ability to stay calm in the face of emotional intensity builds a different kind of respect, a quiet reverence. She feels like she can surrender not because she has to, but because she wants to. And it's not your words that bring her there, it's your presence. Your steady, grounded, non-reactive presence that says, you're safe here. I'm not going anywhere. I can hold this with you. That's the kind of energy she trusts. That's the kind of man she remembers. A man without a mission slowly becomes a man without attraction. When your world begins to orbit entirely around her, your mood, your schedule, your focus, you unknowingly strip away the very energy that once drew her in. At first, she may appreciate the attention, but over time it begins to feel heavy. Not because she doesn't want to be loved, but because she doesn't want to be your only purpose. A woman doesn't want to complete your life. She wants to be invited into a life that's already full of purpose. When you're locked into your vision, when you're building something that excites you, challenges you, and stretches you, she feels that fire, and that fire is magnetic. She doesn't need to understand your mission entirely. She just needs to feel your commitment to it. That commitment is what tells her this man knows who he is. He's going somewhere. And that kind of man is rare. That kind of man is not easily shaken. So ask yourself honestly, what wakes you up in the morning? What are you building when no one is watching? What drives you beyond the need for validation or approval? When you find that mission and pour yourself into it, your energy transforms. Walk differently. Speak with more depth. You stop chasing because you're already being pulled by something greater, and she'll notice. She'll start leaning in, not because you begged her to, but because she feels your gravity. A man with direction doesn't need to impress. Becomes the center of a world others want to be part of. So stay focused. Build your path. Let her feel the strength of a man who doesn't need her to fill a void, but welcomes her into a life already alive with meaning. Out of obligation, but out of desire.